Welcome to On the Spectrum podcast. I am Nick.
I'm Steven.
And with us today, we have an associate professor, we have a clinical researcher, we have a TikToker, we have a person who's highly opinionated, and her name is Lindsay. Lindsay, welcome to On the Spectrum.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Legume of Doom, is that your handle?
The Legume of Doom.
Or Dr. Doom, which, by the way, is awesome.
I was making jokes about your TikTok name to him. When he first told me about you.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
He kept saying Legume of Doom, and I was like, who are we having on? Legion of Doom?
Yeah.
Is it Legion of Doom?
Yeah. I am a fan of wrestling from the early 90s, so.
Nice.
I have an older brother.
Oh, there you go.
The Legume of Doom, is that like a peanut to a kid who has a peanut allergy? That would be a Legume of Doom, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that is also true. Yeah. I guess that'd be like not the right way to refer to it, I guess.
Probably not. That's the non-politically correct way to refer to a peanut allergy.
I was doomed by my peanut allergy.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, as I do at the beginning of every episode, me and Steve do not presume to be experts in anything whatsoever. We're just two human beings who happen to be on the spectrum, and we really got a lot of opinions. But if you hear anything you like, dislike, offended by, whatnot, leave a comment. Tell us all about it. Please, if you want to come on to let us know how we offended you or how you liked our episode, please let us know that as well. And unfortunately, I normally would say that our guest does not presume to be an expert of anything, but you're actually an expert in things. So,
well, yeah, I guess. I know I don't ever feel comfortable saying I'm an expert because I do all the time.
You're more of an expert probably than most people who say that they're experts.
Yeah, I'm not just trying to be antagonizing. I don't like to, because there's always people that know more than I do. I like to say I know more than the average person, probably. But what autistic person can't say that?
That is true. I constantly tell people I know more than they do, but that's not true. I'm just really pretty on the radio.
So I guess I know more than the average person does about research. About
certain things. Like, everybody's kind of an expert in something. I just always like to start the podcast with that because I don't want anybody to think that me and Steve automatically are like, yes, we know autism. This is the final word on autism, or our experience is all there is to it, because it's not. Like, it's maybe a 100th of the full experience of being autistic. Because not only do each of us have our own experience with it, but like even with me and you, right? Like the fact that I'm assuming female, that's your pronouns, female, and I'm male, that drastically changes how the world perceives us and how we perceive the world. Our socialization alone dictates that we're going to see it differently. But also, like the other day, I read something about how male and female autistics, their brains are even shaped slightly differently from one another, let alone autism itself creates a different shape. Shape and density. But even male and female is different for autism in that way.
It's hard to know, though, if... do you know what age they were looking at? Because if it's past like preschool age, then it would be hard to know if their brains are different because of pre-existing differences, or if the different ways in which they may have been socialized.
Right.
So like if you're socialized more socially, then that might, enhance that area of neural activity, or maybe some neural connections that would have been pruned had you not had that experience may stay intact.
So I read an article that someone else read the research for it. So I have no idea if they even interpreted it correctly. I just know that it was a
game of telephone.
Exactly. I just thought it was a very interesting concept because yes, I understood that autism itself created a difference in the shape and the density of certain parts of the brain and whatnot. But then going even further to male and female being different, and then also like other neurodivergents also have different shapes. It's not, a difference in just behavior. That's more the outward expression of it. Like, I would say probably in the last 3 months that we've been doing this podcast, I've learned infinitely more about a lot of things that I thought I understood.
Yeah.
Especially being somebody who studies psychology, from the counseling perspective of it, I thought I understood a bunch of stuff. There is so much more. And so I've been learning a heck of a lot more. Like, I was recently watching a person on TikTok, but it's a Dr. Burrs, something or other. Anyway, he was talking about research for ADHD and how he is proposing that we look at ADHD not from a behavioral perspective, not from an inattentive behavior aspect, but more of a different attention aspect. And I thought that perspective was really kind of cool because we're no longer looking at it from the sense of how well do they fit into things, but more of let's look at them the way they fit in, opposed to how they fit in. Did that make any sense the way I just said that?
Yes.
Great.
Although, so I did my dissertation on ADHD.
Awesome.
And I am also a client.
They have something.
Yeah.
And so, so there was a big debate going on like 10 years ago. I don't know if it's been settled or not. About whether or not, there's 3 subtypes of ADHD. There's primarily inattentive, primarily hyperactive, and then combined type.
Right.
And there was some speculation that the type 1, the inattentive type, might be a unique disorder separate from hyperactive and hyperactive with inattention, the combined type. With the theory being that it's the inattention that is like distinguishing it, and that the inattention you see in combined type is caused by the hyperactivity. So like by virtue of the fact that you can't sit still, like you can't pay attention.
Right. So more of like a side effect to it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's all just speculation.
Of course.
But the thing is, there's, even if you put someone in the right scenario, like on the stock market, like people with ADHD do really, really well on the stock market floor. They do really, really well as air traffic controllers, like things where you're constantly like engaged and monitoring.
Well, because that's more about splitting the attention. Like that's about splitting that energy.
Right. So attention deficit is really a misnomer, because it's not a deficit of attention. You have too much attention,
right? And
you can't control it as well. So you're more likely to respond to things in your environment that are like salient. So if like someone's like doing something like on the side and you're like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of like misophonia rage.
Yeah.
That is definitely the type of thing where it's like harder for us to ignore. And so that's why when you take stimulant medication, what it actually is stimulating is inhibitory neurons to allow you to focus your attention. So even in the right scenario, there's still, if you are in a position where you have to control your attention more than you have to be reactive to things in your environment, it's going to be more burdensome if you have ADHD. Versus something where you're more scanning the environment and being reactive.
Right.
That would work really well for you. The royal you. Maybe you as an individual as well. Can't say that for sure.
No, well, at one point in my existence, and actually I only recently found this out, apparently when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADHD. Had no idea for most of my adulthood. Had no idea when I was a teenager. Apparently some psychologist my mother brought me to, which I don't even remember going to, but she says I went. So guess what? I probably did. They told her I was, but they also told her not to tell me because then I will have more attention problems. So she listened because, a doctor tells her something, she's going to listen to it, right? She never bothered to tell me that. So be it. And then later on in life, I got diagnosed with bipolar. And then a few years ago, autism. And then like the chain of like the amount of people who got diagnosed with ADHD at some point and then bipolar at some point and then autism, it's like, oh, I guess I do fit into that world, huh? But I do like mania from...
I had the same thing technically. When I was a teenager, I got diagnosed with ADD. And then
because it was still called that at
manic
that point.
Depressive.
Yeah, which
and
is
then autism eventually.
Yep. A lot of people do. Weirdly enough, I've connected with enough people on social media who have had that same story. And actually, like a lot of females more often than males follow that path, which is interesting that we did. Although, But,
I was a huge jerk to my psychologist when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah.
Does not surprise me.
I was a skeptic.
Not at all.
As a teenager.
A skeptic of the psychologist?
Yeah, I did. No, I thought that like psychologists were full of crap when I was a teenager because I felt like so it depends. Like people work in mental health, right? I had trust issues, and I was naturally skeptical of me talking to somebody and thinking that they can figure me out based on just having a conversation, or if you're in therapy, like somebody, I felt like they're paid to pretend to care about you. That was kind of my negative look on it, but that's kind of how I felt. So I like didn't like psychologists. I didn't like being in those environments.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't know me. Stop pretending.
You generally hate it when anybody kind of questions certain things about when you say, okay, let me rephrase that. You hate it when I do it. When I'm like, you mean this, or that could be coming from this place. Yeah. Although I can't stop doing that to people, so I'm not going to either, but that's all right. Anyway, back to the person who we're trying to interview today. What got you? No, reverse that question. So when did you initially get diagnosed?
I got diagnosed 3 years ago.
That's all. What led you to getting diagnosed?
COVID happening.
Wait, what?
Because I have a lot of diagnoses, but nothing ever really helped. So I finally was like, it wasn't until COVID happened and like lockdown happened that I realized like how burnt out I was. But I started suspecting I was autistic in 2013, but I didn't get the diagnosis till 2020.
Okay.
So
what kind of brought about the speculation in 2013?
So my brother was at my house. So my brother and my friend were at my apartment on the 4th of July. And I'm a little bit of a Jaws fan.
Okay. All right.
That's, and on the 4th of July, obviously, I watch it on a loop, as one does. And my brother was so fucking sick of me starting it over and over. And he was just like, Jesus Christ, Lindsay, you're autistic for Jaws. And I was like, oh shit, I am autistic for Jaws.
Oh,
and
that's
I was
awesome.
like, you know something, you're right. And then I started thinking about it.
You're like, we're going to need a bigger diagnosis.
Yeah. But then it was really like, I kind of thought about it, but I was like, I don't know. But then when I joined TikTok, I was like, it removed any doubt. And this was like in like 2019, I would say. Okay. I was like, there's certain specific things that I'd never been able to explain my whole life, and autism explained them.
Right.
And so I went into the neuropsych evaluation. I was just like, I don't care what you give me. Like, I just want to know what's wrong with me.
Right.
And then
I need some level of an explanation. Yeah, absolutely. Bipolar, when I got diagnosed with bipolar, I was just coming out of the military. And I thought that explained most of the odd things I did, or, some of the times where people have been like, you're an asshole, you're fucking this or that. Like, mania and depression kind of explains some of that, but not enough. And then when I was listening to people in like emotional support groups talk about their bipolar, like, yeah, I could kind of relate. And for the most part, I would get it, but I still felt like an outsider. Yeah. And then when it got, when even the speculation of me being, autistic came about, I was like, that makes way more sense. Holy crap, that makes way more sense.
Occam's razor.
Yeah, right? Like, let's break that down. Instead of having those other two things and trying to fit to a box, I'm like, nope, singular. Great. Yeah. I mean, guaranteed, every time I don't take my meds for bipolar, I full well know, yes, I actually do have bipolar as well. I feel the shift. And so, yeah, I know that's a real thing. At least that's my evidence to support. Could be a horrible correlation, but whatever, I'm going to accept it and take it. Because I have my manic moments. Like, this kid knows it. I've been performing with Steve for about 6 years now in an improv comedy group. And when I'm manic, I'm a way better performer than when I'm depressed. But that's pretty much anybody.
I just, until I got a diagnosis, my theme song was Creep by Radiohead.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much my life story. It's always being the weird person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Steve's a little eccentric. That's what people would say.
Yeah.
He's a little eccentric.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a nice way of them saying I'm fucking weird.
Yeah. I got eccentric for a while. Yeah. But only when I was manic. When I was depressed, everybody was like, yeah, let's just leave him alone. He's got issues. All right. Wow. Awesome. Okay. Steve, you got any questions? Because I've got 80 billion. Like, there are specific TikToks that I would like to talk to, certain specific like themes that you've had, but also like, I don't know if anybody else is going to find that interesting to talk about, because like maybe they'd have to fucking watch the video. No, I'm lost. You got something?
Really?
Just for a moment, like give me a moment.
What is it about Jaws that you really like? Like, what is it about Jaws?
No, I can answer that. It's Roy Scheider. That's what it is. She's got an obsession with that man. That's what it is. She's like, oh, I want that guy. He was in Sequest DSV. I like that guy.
I was excited when Sequest DSV came up, but then I was very quickly let down. I was like, this is going to be about Jaws, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
You were like, where's the big shark? Come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It is the shark. That's the first thing that grabbed my attention.
The big ass shark, yes.
But I think it's one of those movies that every time, like, you can notice new themes in it. And it is just kind of like a security blanket. Like, I watch it a lot.
There were certain movies
some years I don't watch it a ton. Other years I watch it like 50 times. I just go with it.
There were certain movies I used to do that a lot with, but some of the movies that I would mention are probably really embarrassing because it's like very.
That's okay. I love embarrassing movies.
No, so for some reason, a security blanket type movie for me was Seven. It was a weird movie to have a security blanket. I don't know why. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. I just like that movie.
It has a vibe.
And Fight Club with Brad. Maybe it's a Brad Pitt thing. Maybe I just have a crush on Brad Pitt. I don't know what it is.
Just about to say
He's your security blanket.
But, yeah.
Fight Club, because Fight Club's like you picture like kind of like douchey guys who like that movie, and it's like a stereotype. But just something about that movie. I had read the book a bunch of times when I was younger.
Yeah. And
I like how it was written in first person. And Chuck Palahniuk's kind of a weird writer, the way he writes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I always like that movie. To me, just makes me feel.
So basically, your security blanket is hot men.
Yeah, it's Brad Pitt with abs. That's my security blanket.
Yep. Awesome.
Mine is monsters.
Yeah, hers is monsters. Yours is hot men. Yeah. Nice.
And Kevin Spacey is a crazed religious killer.
Well, yeah, that too.
I like to see Kevin Spacey get murdered in that movie.
Nowadays, we all want to see that.
Even get murdered in Judgment Night.
What's in the box?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Guilty pleasure of mine.
Well, what's her face died in that too? Brad Pitt's wife or girlfriend.
Yeah,
Gwyneth. Yeah.
Lindsay, you end up opening a box and seeing my head. Now you know why.
Yeah, I say spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen like a 20-year-old movie. So.
Yeah, the movie was like 25 years ago. Yeah, it was like 25 years ago. That's
what's
awesome.
in the box.
So
what got you? Because like your TikTok is very centered around the idea of educating people and kind of dispelling myths about a whole lot of stuff, mostly surrounded around mental health and autism and things like that. Mm-hmm. What drove you to kind of fixate in that way?
Just sheer rage, mostly. I started my TikTok as an art account.
Okay.
And then I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like
Twisted Sister?
I can't deal with this. I could not control the compulsion to be like, Jesus Christ. So, and then I just started, I just couldn't take it anymore one day, and I lost it.
So you get on TikTok and you're like, you know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. And then
that's awesome.
Rosie O'Donnell followed me.
Rosie O'Donnell?
Right out on my first rant. And she was like, keep going. I was like, okay.
Yep.
But also, I try really hard to just shit post and post my cats and post my art sometimes. But I just get so pissed Like, it drives me crazy. I don't want to do this. But the misinformation pisses me off so much that like I literally like have to do it.
Isn't that like half of TikTok is just misinformation?
Yeah.
Yes. And
YouTube as well.
Exactly what it is.
YouTube and TikTok are just mostly misinformation.
So I tell people I sleep better now than I ever have in my entire life.
Well, yeah, because you get to let it out. You get to let out frustration. I will say one of my favorite, more recent one is a 3-part one you did. And it was like you start into one of them and it was all like trying to dispel people talking about Autism Speaks. Because of the meetings and stuff that you've had with him lately. But the first bit, my favorite part about it, because it's very comedic seeming, you start into it and then you go, shit, I got to make another one. And then the next one starts of, okay, here's what I was talking about. Here's where I was. And then you start going and you're like, damn it, now a third one. And then you come up into the third one. Like,
don't have good executive functioning.
Right. It was just great because like you were getting so close to the end of it, but you were so into the topic. And then all of a sudden you're like, damn it, another one.
I think it seems to me like people in the autism community shitting on Autism Speaks is kind of like how people just decided one day to start hating Nickelback.
It's like, true. Nickelback really didn't do anything. They just kind of suck. Same with Autism Speaks.
They get sick of listening to, look at this photograph.
Yeah.
Every time I do it makes me laugh.
Oh, I love that analogy. We need to create
They are
a
the
meme.
Nickelback of the autism community.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I do like what you had to say about it because, like, I only ever knew them as an advocacy group from way back when, right? Because they were one of the largest names at one point. And then I didn't really pay much mind to them for the longest time because, you know, they were the people raising money and, you know, blue puzzle piece, blah, blah, blah. But then when we started doing this and having the idea for this podcast and I started looking into it, everybody was just shitting on them, talking about eugenics and all this other jazz. And I didn't understand why. And I was like, okay, maybe somebody got a fucking reason for it.
Yeah.
But then when you pointed out that like now they've got so many people who are autistic who are on their board and they're actually doing autism research for adults. They're not just focusing on kids and it's about helping people. Like you definitely changed my opinion about it because some of the things people were saying were just out and out wrong.
Yeah. My main concern, I mean, quite frankly, I could give 2 fucks about Autism Speaks, but my main concern is that there are so many people that could benefit from them. Yes. Like they're offering to like help people get gender affirming care. And they're they're doing and like helping like offer like mental health resources, especially like this month for LGBTQI plus autistics. Like they do so much good. All of the things that people bitch about wanting. And I'm like, so I was like, okay, I'm going to look into this because there's so much bullshit. And so I looked into it and like, it's egregious, the extent to which the misinformation has like it's just bonkers. And the main thing that I worry about is that there are definitely people who could benefit from the resources that they offer, but don't think they can because they think they're going to get sterilized or they don't even realize that they offer anything.
Right.
And they don't, it's just mind boggling to me that people don't even Google before just like spreading whatever.
People don't take the time. They don't want to take the time to do that. People just will read a headline or they'll read a post on Reddit and they'll just be like, oh, that must be true. Like or they just, it never occurs to them that somebody could be sharing information that they themselves got from whatever. They're playing the telephone game and the information keeps getting warped until it becomes something that doesn't resemble whatever it originally came from.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at one point, all I did was ask, what is so wrong with Autism Speaks, right?
Oh, you probably got attacked.
One person said, how dare you? And I was like, how dare I ask a question? And they were like, you should know what's wrong with them. I'm asking so I know what's wrong with them. Their immediate response was, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
People love to hate them like Nickelback.
Yeah. Yeah, like Nickelback. Although I can only imagine
I'm the only one who's ever compared Nickelback and Autism Speaks.
Yeah, but that's why we need to make a meme about that. I really think like one of your videos.
I'm going to do look
TikTok
at this photograph and it's got the Autism Speaks logo in the middle.
So awesome. So awesome. Anyway, No, I just like there's a lot of people, and maybe it's a stretch in logic for this too. I also think the people who jump on how people want to identify on the spectrum, because like for me, if somebody wants to call themselves Aspie still, that's how they feel comfortable. I'm okay with that, right? Because that's what they identify as. I'm okay with that because that's the way they're doing it, right? It doesn't mean anything against me or say anything about anybody else because that's how they feel good about it and that's how they recognize themselves. And so I don't have a problem with somebody using that. I understand why some people have a problem with Asperger's.
When somebody calls them Aspie, they're not like if they call themselves Aspie, they're not referring to a Nazi doctor. They're referring to whatever condition they were called when they were.
But it also goes with all the other variations of level 1, high function, low support needs, all of the different ones, right? If somebody wants to identify in that way, don't shit on them for it. Because I've seen that too, where people just shit on somebody because they want to identify themselves a certain way. But in the same post, so I'm not going to say whose post it was, but it was a Facebook post, and they were seriously talking about how people should love one another for who they are, and then they're shitting on this person for identifying themselves that way. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, that's a little hypocritical, but okay. Yeah, I just find it the same kind of way because it's still a level of misinformation by saying to somebody, no, you have to identify the way I tell you to identify.
Right.
Come on. And then you're going to browbeat somebody into it. How about just let us all come to understand.
I got dog piled because I posted a comment about how autistic people or people on the spectrum, when they post on social media, or ADHD, whatever it is, people, neurodivergent people, they'll post on social media about wanting neurotypicals or other people, autistic people to understand. They want to be understood. They want people to be understanding. But then they'll turn around and be so judgmental or shit on other people who are on the spectrum. And it's like, you're saying you want people to understand and accept you for who you are, but then somebody says something about their experience on the spectrum you don't agree with and you shut it down. So, well, that's not my autism.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the people that accuse me of, you're not listening to the autistic community. And I'm like, I'm in the autistic community and I have an opinion. So what are you telling me? Right. I can't believe I can't have my own opinion. Like I think they're very, a lot of them are very young. And so I think they have a lot of impatience that they will grow out of and understand is not effective.
What specifically I said that pissed people off was I was pointing out how being on the spectrum, we can still annoy the shit out of each other. Like I pointed out, if you have a friend who's autistic and they annoy you, and some of the things that annoy you might be because of their autism, I was like, it's okay to feel those feelings being annoyed. That's natural. But I was saying we should be even more understanding as fellow autistic people. And people were like, no, like they wanted to make it into a, normie versus autism type thing where it's like apparently only, non-autistic people are annoyed by autistic people. Autistic people cannot annoy each other, apparently. That's
or disagree.
Of. Yeah.
Which is the exact opposite. We probably annoy each other far fucking more often. I mean, Steve, even with me and you, man, like our autism gets in the fucking way a lot. And to give an example, and not too many personal details on this, but to give an example, his chosen way to communicate, to express himself is written, right? So texting, typing, writing it down, far easier for him. I have a hard time reading things contextually to understand how he's getting it across. Like I understand the words, I understand the sentence, but I don't necessarily hear the tone of voice or any of that jazz, right? I can't read into beyond the words, if you will. My preferred way to communicate is verbally because I'm way more expressive and I feel like I can get my full opinion out that way. Unfortunately, that comes into conflict because he'll type me a big long ass thing in like Facebook Messenger or text, and I'll start reading it and like, I don't know how you're saying that. I don't know if you're pissed at me right now or not. Even when he writes things like you fucking moron, I'm still like, all right. Like, I don't know. And then when I'm talking to him, he's like, okay. But I've got this long thing that I just said. And I'm like, that's all you have is okay? Well, yeah, because he's still processing the damn thing. And so that kind of gets into our way, if you will. And then there are other times where we completely misunderstand a fucking conversation from one another's point of view. Yeah, and we do it constantly, but it happens quite often. One thing I did notice, not that I want to keep harping on this whole, like, let's bash the community we're a part of, but I'm going to do it anyway. One thing I did notice is the amount of young, like, early diagnosed people who were like, I can only date autistic people because they'll understand me.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, there's this 2 or 3 young people, female presenting.
Only 2 or 3.
No, they're the only ones I've come across thus far. Well, no, I've come across a bunch, but these in particular, because they have a series of them talking about how autistic people are the only ones who can understand autistic people, and we should only date one another to make sure we feel loved.
Plus, if we don't make more of our own, then who else is going to do it?
Yeah, that's like Aspie supremacy.
Yes, it is. It's very much like that. And actually, one of the 4 started what sounded like they were about to say that.
Yeah, it's keep the bloodline clean.
Yeah, like we're getting very close to Nazi thinking right there. Yeah. They almost said it, and then they were like, well, anyway. And I'm like, oh wow, I really want to like say something, but no. I'm on the Spectrum account, so I'm not going to say shit. I'm going to move on. Yeah. Oh my God. But it's out there. I mean, I've talked to a couple of male presenting, I'm going to stop trying to be fucking PC. I was talking to a couple of dudes on the spectrum, and they said roughly the same thing, that only a woman on the spectrum is going to understand them. And I proposed to them that it would actually be harder, because you not only have to unlearn some of the NT, social rules, but you'd also have to learn the new person's social rules at the same time.
Yeah.
To find some level of connection with it. And like one of them was like, well, I'm not as high masking as you are. And okay, valid, I guess. Because that plays into it too. I mean, I can tell you from my own previous relationships, especially prior to knowing I was autistic, like the fact that I'm as high masking as I am did present an issue, because when meltdowns would happen, when burnout would happen, when even I would just have moments of too much sensory jazz, they wouldn't understand why I seemed like I was tweaking out so bad.
Yeah.
And it was just, and it would hit. Like a minute ago, I had to ask him to turn down the volume in our headphones because my head was starting to throb. But that's all right. Well, for yourself, what kind of issues has autism kind of presented for your life? Prior or since you've been diagnosed?
I have a rich tapestry of trauma interwoven with my autism, so it's hard to attribute. It's hard to attribute things to specific things, you know?
Because there's too many layers of things that might be impacting.
Tapestry, we'll say.
I do like the wording on that. Yeah.
Yes,
mine's more of a mosaic. Actually, it's like one of those like letters that the serial killer leaves with all the different like magazine clippings put together.
Mine's a Toynbee tile. Do you know what Toynbee tiles are? Oh, well, now you have something to look up. There's a really good documentary about them.
Okay.
I won't go into it anymore. It's a really
not at all. You're going to leave me with that curiosity for the rest of this conversation.
Look up Toynbee tiles.
Okay. How do you spell that?
Toynbee.
Okay.
Nick's trauma is more like a Rorschach test. So sorry.
Yeah, but it's hard to know what has caused problems and what hasn't, to be honest.
Okay.
So it's a hard question to answer.
So what made you get into, like, what made you want to study psych?
I decided, when I was in 5th grade, I wanted to be a paranormal psychologist. And then as I got older,
Ghostbusters?
What's paranormal psychologist?
A lot. I have a framed Vigo in my house.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Jaws and Ghostbusters.
I'm into like horror and like all 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Like
I have a lot of like memorabilia. I have like a giant flasher gremlin, like a movie size prop.
Oh, wow.
Like I have a lot of random shit like that because
that's awesome.
Do you like Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend's really big into Evil Dead. She's like,
yeah, I like Evil Dead. I'm not the super into Army of Darkness, which I know is like, which I know is like not like that. A lot of people love that movie. It's just not my vibe.
I actually
because I don't find it either funny or scary.
Oh, see, I could actually have taken that as a separate movie altogether. Like honestly, it's so almost divorced from the second from Evil Dead 2 that like you could have made it a totally separate movie, called it something totally different, not even called him Ash, just had dude with a chainsaw on his wrist.
Yeah.
I would have been okay with it.
Yeah, that was not. I'm not like a super huge fan of that, but
so paranormal psychologist.
Yeah, she went to be Bill Murray in Ghostbusters.
Over the course of teenagehood, I dropped the paranormal, and because that wasn't an option in college, so I just did my undergrad in psychology, and then when I was finishing my undergrad, I applied to a few different PhD programs, and I applied to be a flight attendant on JetBlue. And so if I didn't get into the PhD programs, I was going to be a flight attendant for JetBlue.
Those options are this far away from each other. Like,
yes, as someone who is on the spectrum, I don't like flying. Not because I'm afraid to be on the plane. I just don't like being in an enclosed area.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't want to be that close to another human being.
I honestly think I would have been miserable, but I wanted to travel.
Oh, there you go.
And so I never had a chance to fly before, so that was like my way I was going to travel.
When I have to fly, I like to sleep or get drunk and sleep so that I don't have to pay attention to the flight or be uncomfortable. So I hate being on the plane.
I think we should
definitely glad that I ended up going into a PhD.
There you go. We should just get really rich, Steve, and we should buy a plane.
There we go. Actually, that'll probably make me more nervous. I'd rather just have somebody who's flown for 30,000 hours fly the plane. But
no, I didn't say we would fly it. We would hire a pilot.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay, what do you think was like as you started studying psychology? You did your undergrad, and then you did your graduate degree. What are some of the most surprising things that you learned about, like things that really were that blew your mind when it came to psychology? Because I know there's a lot of like really interesting things. I'm not as into psychology as you or Nick, but like I know whenever I read about certain things, there's certain things you learn about that kind of like blow your mind a little bit.
Yeah. So I would say, the fallibility of human memory is very unnerving when you learn the reality of it.
Unreliable witness.
Pretty much all of our memories are mostly fabricated.
Our memory, like everybody loves to tout, I've got such a great memory. No, you don't. No, you don't at all. In fact, none of us are even close to as good of a memory as we to think we do.
There's variability, right? Some people have better memories than others, but most of the time a memory you can never know, because if there's no documentation of it, then you have no way to verify. But if there is documentation of it, then theoretically that documentation could be what has formed the memory.
Right.
So like you have no way of actually knowing if you're truly remembering something ever.
Kind of like, look at this photograph.
Exactly.
Every time I do it makes me laugh. Sorry. So I bring it back to that.
Oh, it's going to be great when he writes the description of this episode. It's going to be, we talked to a clinical resester
about Chad Kroger. About Canadian pop rock groups.
Yeah.
Canadian Jesus.
Really?
He used to have the long curly hair.
No, he did. Yeah. I know.
And he
then he cut it all off and looks more like a douche.
Well,
that's why he probably cut it all off so he could actually look closer to her age. That's so wrong. What was I going to say? Oh, no. Yeah.
She was going to tell us things that blew your mind.
Yes.
You mentioned
memory.
Memory. That's something I've heard about too. But like, because I like to read a lot about criminal justice and
eyewitness testimony.
Yeah, like witness testimony is often not very reliable.
Right.
Because people think they remember more than they actually remember, or they misremember things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It's a big problem. And before we knew all the ways that people could like subtly guide people to picking the person that they want them to pick. So like there's been so many already. Eyewitness testimony was very fallible and is very fallible, but they also didn't have cops that understood that they would like a lot of times guide, sometimes intentionally, a lot of times not, the person like in a lineup
into the person that they already suspected was the person.
Right. So so that is really like, I mean, I've come to terms with it. I just don't care. But when you first, I think that it shakes a lot of people because they're like, no way. And I'm like, fucking yes way. Like it's true for you too. So that I think is something that really surprised me.
Okay.
One other thing is that there's evidence that, so obviously your like emotional state can to some extent dictate your physical state. Stuff like you're happy, you might be smiling. And if you're like anxious, your heart could be racing and your skin could be like a little like sweaty palms. So that it can go that way, but also it can go the other way. So like if you just smile, you will become happier.
Right. Yeah. You have some
so that was
incremental
kind of
increase.
if you want someone to like fall in love with you on a first date, you should like take them on a roller coaster.
Yes.
Because the accelerated heart rate like mimics the feeling of being in love.
Yep.
And so you associate that with them.
Yeah. If you give somebody heightened emotions, you can do that. Yeah.
Well, it's called James Lang theory.
The one I've heard is about like, you know, if you do things like you try to stand up straight, sit straight, it'll help you feel more confident because people who are confident tend to stand upright.
All that body posture stuff.
Right. Well, it has something to do with like serotonin or something.
Yes.
Like if people who are low in serotonin will slouch over more or whatever. But if you act more confident, you actually boost your serotonin, from what I understand.
Yeah. So interesting. So I remember learning about that and being very surprised. I'd say those are the two big things that really blew my mind, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I only have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I just read it all the time. Like my grand obsession has always been human behavior. I've always read it since I was a teenager. Any book, any textbook I can get my hands on, I have bought and read, even though I wasn't in the class.
He gave me an essay before we started about Skinner.
Oh God, Jesus. You give him one popular name somebody might remember, and this
I don't know that much. I just know certain people.
The thing that like always amazed me and that I've kind of focused on a great deal is the fact that just about everything about us as human beings is a skill. It's something we've learned. It's something we can develop further. Like most people talk about confidence and motivation and self-esteem. Not that I believe in self-esteem, but those three concepts as things they want to get, right? But no, it's something you grow in you. It's a skill set to have.
Yeah.
And now as a counselor myself nowadays, I talk to people about that all on a regular basis, that it's a myth that it's something we get. It's something we grow in ourselves. It's something we develop. And like, that's something that has always like blown my mind because most people wander around like, I just want to be more confident. I got to get more confidence. Okay, give yourself more confidence. Let yourself have more confidence.
Right.
And one of the ways to do it is by changing the way you talk. When I was much, much younger, I didn't understand how impactful the way you talk about yourself is. How truly impactful that really is. Even the littlest things we say. Like, oh my God, why can't I just starting that sentence automatically influences so much about how you were thinking.
As the great philosopher Demi Lovato once said, what's wrong with being confident?
It's very true.
Yeah,
I'm kidding, but
you were, and it's a hilarious source, but it is a very true statement.
True.
Yeah. I currently am a counselor in addiction. I'm a substance abuse counselor. Yeah. Or at least that's my day job. My night job is telling jokes and doing an autism podcast.
And he takes me on the road. We have this traveling freak show. I actually have a small window in the back of my head because I actually don't have any wrinkles on the outside of my brain. It's just completely smooth. And I get some plexiglass back there you can kind of see.
I'm sorry.
Like a fish tank?
Yeah.
That's what I was picturing. A fish going by the window. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's great, dude.
At least I didn't call you the smooth brain one. I said I was smooth brain.
Well, I know. For once, it was great.
Yeah. Insulted myself instead.
I know. I appreciate when you make fun of you. It's awesome. Anyway. So, wow, I just stopped myself altogether.
Really?
I really did. Like,
I don't know.
I'm having a really hard time grabbing questions today.
He has the smooth brain today, not
apparently. Okay.
Happens.
It's very unusual for me to be like without something to fucking say.
So after studying as much as you have about psych, I asked you like things that have blown your mind, but what is something you think that the layperson, the average person, should know that most people don't?
That correlation doesn't equal causation.
Everybody should know that, but nobody fucking understands that.
Oh my God.
Well, there's also a difference between knowing and understanding.
Yeah. If they say it, I mean, if you can say the sentence and you know what all three words mean, you should understand it, I guess. But I mean, people misuse things a lot on TikTok, but correlation doesn't equal causation is not something I see normally misused, I should say.
Right.
Like people say cognitive dissonance about whenever there's disagreement, seemingly.
Right, and that's, not even.
Most people on TikTok have like the It's Always Sunny Charlie diagram behind them with like all the pins everywhere. Like everything's
connected. They call
connected.
everything Dunning-Kruger. I mean, I've had people tell me that my Dunning-Kruger is showing, and I'm like, you're a person that, like, I have a PhD. And I'm like, which one of us do you think has Dunning-Kruger? I'm like, you, the person that, like,
that's irony.
You know,
it's irony. Someone calling you, saying you have the Dunning-Kruger when they're the one who actually has it, and they don't realize they're the one who has it.
Like but correlation doesn't equal causation is not one that I see misused a lot.
If you're telling somebody else that they're under the Dunning-Kruger effect, then you're probably the one who's under the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, because you wouldn't usually say it to their face.
Why would
like
you?
It's usually a boss or something.
Confidently incorrect is what we call it.
And just in case somebody's listening and they have no idea what the hell we're talking about,
I did explain it in a previous episode.
I know you did.
The Dunning-Kruger effect is basically this: when the more you learn about something, the more you know there is that you don't know. And so when people first start out doing something, they'll often start to think, "Oh, I'm really good at this," or "I know a lot about this," because you have a big gain in the amount of knowledge or skill that you have. And then as the more you get better at something, like let's say you start playing piano and you get decent at it, and then you realize, oh shit, I really don't know anything about piano, because you realize how much there is you don't know how to do, or how much you're missing in your skill.
So kind of what I explained at the very beginning about my understanding about autism, and then doing this podcast, I realize
how much there is you don't know. Yeah. And how much more you have to learn. So often some of the people who are the best in their field are more humble, have more humility. Some of the best athletes in the world are actually very humble about it, because they realize like how much more they can still improve. Yeah. About like, I'm one of the best athletes in the world, but I can still get better. Yeah. I'm not good at this part of it. I'm not good at this part of it, because there's so many little things and nuance.
Oh yeah. It's a level of maturity, I would say.
But if you're going around saying like Dunning-Kruger, then you're probably the one who doesn't know anything about.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're talking to anybody that has a PhD in the topic you're talking about and you don't have one, there's a good chance they're not the one with Dunning-Kruger. Yes. I mean, there's going to be an exception potentially, but by and large,
I am a professional TikToker. Okay. And my 3.5 years of TikToking has made me an expert in everything.
Well, I think a lot of people now conflate number of followers with like quality of information.
Oh yeah, they do.
Which is not a reliable indicator of anything.
No.
I mean,
in terms of information quality.
Look at how many followers Trump has.
Valid. Actually, that's a yes.
Yeah.
Valid.
But I think that that's a big problem is people think just because, well, this person has 100,000 followers, like that somehow means they have better information.
Yeah, like Autism Speaks.
But then you think about it and it's like, well, a lot of the people that shit talk Autism Speaks, I know, like, there's no resources for level ones. There's no resources for level ones. I'm also coaching. Come due to my coaching business.
Yeah.
And so there's like a conflict of interest there, which I think is partially why people get so fired up about the Autism Speak stuff. Because I'm like, there are resources. And they're like, no.
So I got 2 questions. One is, are you drinking Baja Blast? Because you love to talk about Baja Blast.
If I drink Baja Blast at this hour, I would never go to sleep.
Oh.
I'm drinking ginger ale.
Do you think that Baja Blast causes autism?
I wish.
Okay.
Okay.
It's something in the green dye.
With the amount Lindsay has brought that up in her videos, she would be the most autistic person on the planet. Then,
I make jokes in poor taste about.
I love Baja Blast.
Yeah, I would actually say honestly, Steve, like
I make jokes about things causing autism because I think it's ridiculous. Like you'll read all the time, people say,
"Oh yeah,
X causes autism," so I make jokes about it. Like I made this joke that became a running gag.
Oh yeah,
that Pepto-Bismol causes autism. So I had this whole running gag about my mom had a stomach ache when she was pregnant, and that's why.
Yeah,
she had a jigsaw puzzle. She had Pika.
Yeah.
So I have these stupid jokes where I talk about stupid things that cause autism. Or stupid things that cure autism. Like homemade remedies, you get some crushed up quartz and lavender oil. You mix it together and
yeah. Well, he actually had a running gag for like 5 or 6 episodes, all about how he was curing me with his homemade tincture. Yeah, it was great. The last episode he talked about, he was like, "I've cured Nick completely. He's no longer autistic anymore. Listen to him talk." And I'm like, okay.
He made eye contact with me for a full 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I completely lost the other thing I was going to.
Still has no friends though. But we are approaching the 1 hour mark. Just to let you guys know.
Oh my God, that's great.
I can stay on for a bit longer.
Awesome.
But I
just want to be respectful of your time.
No.
I have nothing to do.
We block out a huge amount of time. We try to record 2 episodes in a day, just in case there's a weekend we can't, because we do also have day jobs and things. And I have a family.
Yeah, for some reason they let him reproduce
4 times. Jesus.
Autism Speaks didn't get to you in time.
No, they did not. Nope, they did not sterilize me in time.
But the MMR did.
Yeah, it did.
She rolled her eyes at me.
It was a joke. Swear to God, it was a joke.
I'm not conscious of rolling my eyes.
That's okay. It was a bad joke.
It's because she gets so fired. You know what's going to happen the second we get off the phone with her? She's immediately going to do a TikTok. You know what this motherfucker said to me? And the header to it will just be, they're funny.
You said the MMR causes autism.
Yeah. Oh my God.
No,
hey, you know what? It's okay. I'll trade autism for measles.
Controversy.
Yeah, right? Like,
give me my mumps and rubella. It's okay.
Yeah, because that's what we need more of is something that'll fucking kill people. That's awesome.
It didn't work because I got autism and measles. So
see what happens when you make those jokes? Yeah. Weird twist of fate. You got both of them first.
So,
nice.
What have you learned through the course of doing TikTok? Like, I think that when you start posting things like on TikTok or us doing the podcast, doing YouTube, because I did YouTube for a while, you kind of like, as you start doing it, you pick up on things, you learn things. Like what have you gained during this TikTokery?
I have learned that the negative people find you first.
The haters.
No matter what, if you post something semi-controversial, if you don't give it enough time, you'll only get negative comments.
As the great philosopher Taylor Swift once said,
haters gonna hate. Yeah. There you go. Great. That's awesome.
And I think the lack of media literacy in our general population has been a little
can't be
concerning.
bothered to read besides the headline. They just read the headline and that's it.
Well, I mean, come on, let's put this in context though. Like, people were never really great at looking further into an article. Like, even when it was just newspapers, people would still just read the headline and like talk about that and speculate what the fuck it could mean. They didn't read the article itself. Like, that's not a new thing. And now we just have way more access for everybody to hear the same fucking bullshit, like, line.
Yeah.
I mean, it spreads like wildfire.
The lack of like people with big platforms who don't check information.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like if you hit a certain amount of followers, like, you kind of have a responsibility to, if you're going to make claims.
Right.
Especially ones that could cause harm.
I agree.
You should research them first. Like, it's very weird to me that people that isn't like, and that's, I think, though, why people get so emotional and so like, because they know that their platform may be tenuous if it's built on some, misinformation. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's why people often double down.
Right.
Whereas I don't care. Like, if someone came to my profile and were like, "Oh, this is wrong," I'd be like, first of all, no. But second of all, because I don't post things that I know aren't true. But if it was new evidence, okay, I change my opinion. Like, I didn't know that was something that was so hard for so many people. Like, to just learn and be like, oh, like, it's very, very strange to me why people are so sensitive about that.
Because there's an emotional connection. And I think I try to separate my feelings from information I have. So, I mean, sometimes those things can be like if you have an emotional investment in a certain belief or opinion, but I try to keep those things separate. Like, if I have a certain belief about something and then I come across information that is contrary to what I believe, I'm like, okay, I guess I was wrong, or all right, let me look into this. But I think for a lot of people, it's hard to separate. They have like an emotional connection to whatever.
Yeah.
Well, because they attach it seems like to me they attach it to their personhood, their identity. Like, whatever they believe in, it's attached so strongly to their identity that if you even seemingly challenge it, like, you don't even have to actually challenge it, they're immediately like, no, I'm valid as a human being. Yes, you are. You're just fucking wrong. But they get that same level of, like, as if you just said, no, you don't deserve to exist. As if you said that to them. It's that same heightened level.
One thing people need to be aware of too is, like, if you'll have people who will cite things on a YouTube video or in a TikTok video, whatever it is, they'll cite where they're getting the information from. But if you look at there'll be 10 different pages that cite the same article or research paper. And then that research paper article that it's citing is not what those articles or those things are saying.
Right.
It's something different, but they'll all cite the same source. So it's like, oh, I have 15 sources for this thing, but it's actually all the same source.
Right.
Right. And just like people not knowing to look at that, it's like, and just to not question is very alarming to me.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm usually around people that like always critique each other's ideas and update their opinions as they learn stuff. Like, that's commonplace. And so when I first encountered it online, I was very perplexed.
Because it doesn't happen everywhere else.
But
it honestly doesn't happen as often. I mean, when I was younger, obviously, I'm 42. And so, like, when I was early teenage years or just mid-teenage years, we didn't have as much of internet. Like, we had AOL, and you could kind of go on a website, but there wasn't a fuck ton, right? Nowadays, there's way more of everything. But we didn't even bother going on a whole lot of anything because it really didn't matter to us. We were just bullshitting on the street, hanging out with each other. We just said whatever bullshit there was to us, and it was okay to be wrong.
Actually, I used to go on back in the day when I was a kid, we had like the CD-ROM encyclopedias.
Uh-huh.
And I was the nerd who used to read through all of the articles on the CD encyclopedia. I'm like, did you know that giraffes' necks grow on average?
Well, but like nowadays, you can't even have a bullshit conversation. You can't have an exaggeration of anything. You can't just have a conversation. Everybody has to be right.
Yeah, it's very strange to me.
Fuck. What happened to the days where you just had, like, you opened up a beer or two with a buddy and you just bullshitted with each other? Like, let's go back to that. Yes, we were fucking wrong 1,000 times over and we worded things horribly. We were extremely insensitive, but at least we were able to still connect with one another as human beings. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody had to be right about everything. Oh, and prove it. Oh, look, I just used Google. I don't give a shit. Like, let's just talk. Like, let's be okay with being wrong. Anyway, I do got a question for you. And I probably know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. Does it bother you that in our community that there's seems to be far more focus on level 1 autists opposed to any other? There just seems to be a hell of a lot more focus on low support need folks than anybody else on the spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, right. Part of that is because they're more likely to be on social media. So they're going to be more, like, there's going to be more of them.
Yeah, but don't tell them that they're low support needs when they're on social media, because they assume they're level 3 anyway.
I mean, they're just so wrong. I think the algorithm knows better at this point.
Yeah, I played D&D and I get to level 10.
Yeah. I'm sorry. The first time somebody said you're a level 1 autist, I immediately went, well, how do I get experience points? Like, immediately. Like,
I rolled the D20.
You need a warp zone.
Yeah. Like, how do I get up to 99? Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I also understand why the level.
I decided to specialize. So I'm actually a hybrid class. I'm ADHD.
Yeah. Oh. Ooh, I got all lightheaded.
I get
from
2
that
different perk points for that class.
Yeah. But is it something? So I also have 2 of my children. My oldest son and oldest daughter are both on the spectrum as well. My oldest son is relatively level 1. I've never really bothered to figure that out one way or the other. But my oldest daughter is relatively level 2. Like, she's always going to be living with me and her mother, always. And I'm okay with that because I'm her stepdad. I chose to be in that life. So I'm totally fine with her being there. But it seems like, and I do get a little bit pissed off at being her stepdad because I hear people talk about how much needs this person or that person needs. And I'm like, look, you're forming full fucking sentences and you're able to talk for 9 minutes straight whining about something. By the way, for anybody who's listening, I'm not trying to diminish your struggle or whatever.
Shit on them. Shit on them, Nick.
It's just
shame them.
It's just my daughter cannot do more than 3 sentences responses to you without having to then script for a little bit and then come re-engage with you. And that's much harder of a life for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, schooling is much harder for her. Just any interaction. I mean, she's able to make food relatively. We still don't let her use the stove yet, but she's getting there. And it always kind of pisses me off as a dad to hear somebody talk about how I'm so depressed today. Oh my God, let me spend 8 videos talking about how I just couldn't shower today. Sorry, does that kind of stuff bother you as well?
Well, it only bothers me when they are trying to insert their experience onto someone else.
Yes.
And so when they when they I've seen level 1s in the comment section of mothers of autistic people with higher support needs saying I understand your son better than you. And I'm
yeah.
What do you, we're not all psychically connected.
Yeah.
What?
We're the Borg.
Yeah, we're the Borg.
I'm the cutest
weird things like that where it's and it's no. And I think a lot of them, and I've made videos about this, that for a lot of them, they just have trauma because they think their parents didn't give them care at the right time, which they may not have, but then they project that onto the autism moms, and it's very weird. Yes. I feel like there's room for everybody, but people need to stay in their lane.
A little bit, stay in their lane. Yeah.
Maybe the Borg were autistic, which is why their ship is shaped like a Rubik's Cube.
I love it.
I have mine. Where's my Rubik's Cube?
Yeah.
Got it right here.
There you go. It's a Borg ship.
And I will. And I will kind of say with that, now that I know that I'm autistic and I've had conversations with my mother about my upbringing and stuff, there's no way for her to have known. I was born in 1980. Through the entire 80s, somebody as high masking as myself would have never been diagnosed with autism. There's no way as a kid she could have brought me to anybody and found out at that young of an age because nobody would have known. Yeah. Same thing with Steve, and I'm assuming for yourself, Lindsay. Like, I don't know how you were when you were growing up. I don't know how you were. But like for the most part, like most of us who are level 1 would not have been diagnosed in the 80s for the most part. And so like to blame our parents and to be like, well, my parents should have tried harder. No, fuck that. You know what? I'm going to give my mom, especially my mom, benefit of the doubt and say, look, you did the best you could. Thank you for teaching me the social rules of the NT world as well as you did. Did it suck when you constantly forced me to make eye contact? Yeah. But so what? Growing up is hard for anybody. Like, our parents do the best they can. And maybe I have that understanding because I'm a father now. And so I can see like, you know, sometimes you just make a decision and you have no idea if it's a good idea or not. And I just lost the whole audience. Excellent. So what kind of art do you do? You brought up art earlier.
Oh no, do you keep going and listening?
Oh, I don't think you were not listening. It's just he doesn't have kids. I'm babbling about being a dad. I have no idea if you have kids or not. And so like, okay, so both of you are like, oh, okay, Nick, that's good information for eventually. Excellent. Hey. Okay. So moving on. So you mentioned before you do art. What kind of art do you do?
I mostly do hand embroidery.
Opposed to all the other kind of embroidery? Mm-hmm. I'm a little ignorant when it comes to like crafts and shit.
Yes, exactly. So. Yeah, you can do it. You know how like an embroidered sweatshirt? Like you can do embroidery on a sewing machine. So hand embroidery, like, so not on the machine. Okay, maybe I have no idea what embroidery is because I thought sewing on a sewing machine was sewing.
It's like when you make a design on, like, you take thread and you make a design on a shirt
fuck. Okay, yes.
Or something, you embroider.
Yeah.
Yes,
so, like, if you get, like, a sweatshirt with, like, lettering on it, that's usually, like, machine embroidered.
Oh, when it's puffy. But really
a lot of people do that. Like,
I
have a lot of friends that do it. They make, like, patches and stuff. And so that's what I was contrasting it from. Yeah, but I guess if you're not in the embroidery community, that's just
every time I do it makes me laugh. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. Okay, it's kind of like when somebody mentioned something like for a long while I thought knitting and crocheting were the exact same fucking thing.
Oh yeah, no, they're totally different.
Totally different. I dated somebody and she was like, "How dare you? I crochet," and I'm like, fuck off. I
was rude to get upset about it, but
oh no, that was her thing. Different. Yeah, that was her thing. She got upset every time somebody didn't fucking know something like that she knew.
Weird.
Nah, I didn't last very long with her, but for that reason, because she would go, "Oh, why didn't they know?" And I'm like, because why in the fuck would they know? Like, they don't give a shit about that.
Know what you don't know.
Yeah. It's my favorite phrase
for me,
ever.
Art for me has always been difficult because I actually used to draw and paint when I was younger. And I used to be pretty good at it, but I'm not one of those people who can just pick it up again. Like if I try to draw now, it'll be terrible. I'll have like stick figures.
Right.
But I used to actually be able to draw really well because I used to do it every day. I used to draw like video game characters, cartoon characters, anime characters. I would make up my own. I used to do comic books when I was like in middle school and high school. I actually was in art club. And then after high school, I stopped doing it and now I can't draw for shit. It's like,
you know what really got me back into drawing? I use Procreate on my iPad. And it's only it's like the best design software. It's only $9.99. It only is for iPad, but I got an iPad specifically because I wanted Procreate. But I make my embroidery patterns in it.
That's why I got a girlfriend.
I do a lot of
specifically for Procreate. I'm sorry.
I do a lot of like digital design. No, you're fine.
I make stupid jokes.
That was so fucking good, though. It was so fucking good.
I'm in a silly mood today. I'm making a lot of dumb jokes.
Okay, you can be in a silly, goofy mood.
Oh God,
this is what I do. We bring people on, and then I just make stupid jokes the whole time.
Yeah, like I engage them, and
Nick's
Steve
like, so tell me about the time you were traumatized, and I'm like, look at this phone.
Yeah, we're also in an improv comedy group too.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you think he's funny, you should check it out.
All right, actually, you're close enough that you could actually come to one of our shows. Possibly.
That's actually true.
Where are they?
They're in Taunton, where I live.
Where's Taunton from me? Like 45 minutes away, I think.
Yeah, something like that. South?
I tend to never leave my house, but if I ever do, maybe.
Wow.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we have the peanut of doom here tonight.
Yeah, you know what I heard, Steve? I just heard no.
It's okay.
That's like,
well,
like,
it's not.
when
no,
I
eventually I never go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Nick is used to women telling him no.
Particular to you. I'm just not in an agoraphobic way. I just I have made my house to be the best place ever for me.
You're comfy. You're comfy.
And why would I ever want to leave it? Yeah. And I get overwhelmed really easily. So
okay. What overwhelms you the most? If you don't mind me asking.
Isn't that kind of personal?
Well, it is, but that's why
humidity.
I said if you don't mind. What?
So
humidity.
What's your deepest, darkest fear in life?
So if you lived in Arizona, say like
I don't
Phoenix,
experience fear.
You don't experience fear ever?
No.
Holy shit, I love that. Really? Like,
yeah, ever? I think I might fit actually the autistic psychopath profile, but I'm pro-social. But like, yeah, I don't experience fear. I never have.
Look at this psychopath.
Okay. That's okay. I'm wicked fascinated now because you don't experience fear. So let me kind of break this down a little bit. Do you get anxiety? Or is it no level of fear whatsoever?
No, I get anxiety, but it's because anxiety how much other people are going to piss me off.
Oh, so yeah, that's not okay. That's a different,
Like I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's more of the anticipation of fucking discomfort moments.
Like the only feel, like that's. I mean, I have been scared before, like when my life's been in danger,
right?
But like I'm not. But like I don't like. You know, this is a story I tell. So you know the movie Fire in the Sky?
Yep.
Okay, so it came out in 1993. Mm-hmm. So it's like I was like 11, and it had come out in video, and my neighbors rented it, and so we watched it one night. And I walked home by myself when I was like 11 in the dark, in the woods, and I like didn't give a shit.
Wow.
Like I was like. Would it be crazy if a UFO came?
Yeah.
It's just like, whatever.
But I mean, especially at that age, in that situation that's so similar to that movie, there should have been a level of fear, paranoia to you, even though whether you believed in aliens or not, there still should have been some irrational fucking something coming up.
And when I was scared, like I used to think I should be scared of ghosts when I was a kid.
Sure.
So I would think to myself, this is like pretty demented. But I'd just be, because obviously I was like, if ghosts are real, I can psychically communicate with them, obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, if they're real, they can fucking read my thoughts. And I was like, do whatever you want, ghost. But one day I'm going to be a ghost. And when I'm a ghost, I'm going to find you.
You do whatever you want right now, but I'll get you.
$20 last, motherfucker. Yeah. Because as soon as I die, your ass is grass.
Lindsay, I think you're going to be in our...
I'm not scared of them anymore. Because I'm like, they should be afraid of me.
Yeah.
You're going to be in our zombie apocalypse team.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a recurring zombie apocalypse dream.
Really?
Yeah. I always am killing them.
That actually ends up being one of my greatest fears is zombies, even though I don't believe they could possibly exist.
So prepared.
I am so like terrified. Like, so I've got this horrible problem with windows at night and shit. I don't like them open. I don't like having the curtains open because I can't see
I don't like
through
that either.
I did when I was like 5.
Yeah. Well, I still have the problem with it.
When I was a kid, I used to hate walking by windows at night, but for some reason I just grew out of it.
Yeah, it's essentially a xenophobic reaction I have to a fucking darkened window, okay? I have no idea what the fuck is there. I'm fucking terrified as shit. And if I get anywhere close to it, like within 5 feet of that window, I get like
some night this week I need to walk by Nick's house late at night. I'm just going to pop up in the window and be like,
yeah, it's probably why my mother owns a shotgun, so just so she can take care of my friends for me. But no, where was I going with that? Fuck, dude. Oh, no, I have no idea. Okay, so I no idea where I was going, but yeah, that's a fucking big ass fear of mine. Fucking darkened windows and shit. Anyway, but usually the image in my head of that window is fucking zombies. That's what I'm missing outside of my window. It's a fucking zombie. I cannot watch, not anymore at least, I can't watch a zombie movie. I can't watch Walking Dead. I can't watch anything even similar to it. So like Shaun of the Dead, it's gotten this bad. When Shaun of the Dead came out, I saw it in theaters, thought it was funny as shit, loved the movie. I love Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. I think they're hilarious guys. I love the whole group of like writers they have. I now can't watch because this is how bad it's gotten for me. I can't watch Shaun of the Dead anymore.
Oh, really?
Because just the slow fucking walk. And those are comedic fucking zombies, right? That's not even close to like as bad as you can fucking get.
He had a meltdown the last time I played Thriller. So
I can't watch the music video, all right? Great fucking tune, but
they're dancing.
Yeah.
I know,
dancing
but I still
zombies.
can't fucking watch it. Like fucking zombie Michael Jackson. I mean, shit, I still got to lock up my kids to make sure he can't get to them. But anyway.
That's a valid fear.
Yeah, that's a valid fear. But anyway, so
I'd be more worried about the Michael Jackson part than the zombie part.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him eating them. I'm worried about something else. Anyway, so with the lack of fear that you have, when you were going through school, okay, because a normal everyday kind of anxiety or fear that people have, I mean, a totally normal thing to have would be anxiety or fear with exams coming up and turning in final projects. Did you have fear turning those in?
No.
You were just like, fucking, I'm taking this exam.
Yeah, I would just see whatever got into my brain and take tests and write papers based off that. Like if it got in, great. Yeah. And sometimes I got D's and sometimes I got A's.
Right.
It just worked out.
Holy
I didn't even care about my grades until grad school.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm super stuck on this because I'm so fucking fascinated by this idea because I get to talk to a human being who lacks that fucking feeling because and I'm sorry I keep using the word normal, but that's what it is. It's a fucking normal feeling to have. It's a normal emotion for people to have a normal reaction at certain times. That fucking fascinates me.
It's because she used to listen to Blue Oyster Cult all the time.
So yeah, don't fear the Reaper.
Oh, exactly. There you go. Ah, fuck. I didn't make that connection.
It's a bad joke. Another bad joke. I'm on a roll with bad jokes today.
It's what you're good at.
Yeah.
Remember we used to have that segment in our fucking improv show? Yeah, you doing dad jokes?
I used to have somebody in the audience give me a word, and then I would come up with a dad joke as quickly as I could with that word.
Yeah. It was actually kind of a hit in our show.
That's it's my autism brain. I'm just connecting the dots really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Helps me with making jokes.
And I'm
make a dad joke about a Baja Blast.
A Baja Blast? Whew.
It's a soda that you can get at Taco Bell.
I know what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's a Mountain Dew soda thing.
Yes.
Yeah, but don't besmirch it like that.
What do you mean? I'm not making fun of it. I'm not shitting on it.
No. When you called it Mountain Dew, it's so much better than just Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew is nasty. Baja Blast is elite.
Well, and it used to only be exclusive to Taco Bell, which was the coolest part about going to Taco Bell.
It still is largely.
Well, yeah, but I mean, now you can buy it at fucking Walmart in a can and shit.
I can't. It's not around anywhere around me.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you have to go to Taco Bell to get it.
I've seen it outside of Taco Bell.
I've seen it too, but it was only for like a limited time.
Oh. Well, maybe I only see it then.
Yeah, but I require it more frequently.
Way more often than that. Okay.
Yeah.
We're throwing a Mountain Dew party at my house tonight. It's going to be a Baja Blast.
Oh, there you go.
I like it. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
That's all right, but people laugh at your dumbass jokes, man.
Well,
like when you get all clever and
that was
shit,
a tough one. Baja Blast is a tough one to make.
Yeah,
I know.
When you tell like clever, like intelligent fucking jokes that make people think, like everybody's like, haha. But when you do the ones that you're like, that's so stupid, everybody giggles their ass off.
I like dumb jokes.
Yeah.
I like dumb jokes too. Have you heard about the guy that dipped his balls in glitter? Pretty nuts.
That's nice. That's nice.
So I'm a very visual thinker. And so as you said that, I'm picturing like a person doing it, but not like dropping themselves into like glitter or whatever, but literally going with a sack of nuts.
Okay.
So I actually saw it in my head. So when you said pretty nuts, I'm like, oh, pretty.
So I was going to tell you guys a joke about Jonestown, but the punchline's too long.
That's a good one. Have you seen the movie The Sacrament?
No.
It's a Ty West movie. And it's a found footage movie that's like a Vice News investigation. But it's like exactly the events of Jonestown. So if you're interested in Jonestown, check out The Sacrament.
Funny enough, there's actually there's an online library, and I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but there's a website that preserves media of all types, pictures, video, audio. And the sole purpose of the website is to preserve things for future generations. One of the things that's really fucked up they have in there is they have all of the audio recordings from Jonestown.
Yeah.
And there's an audio recording of him giving the sermon when people were drinking the fucking cyanide.
I've heard a bunch of it, but not all of it.
You can hear people freaking out as their kids are dying in the background because they made the parents give the kids the drink first so that the parents would have nothing.
They gave like syringes to the parents to put it in their like infants' mouths.
Right. So they wanted them to have the kids go first so that the parents would have less of a will to live because their kids just died. So they're like, now the parents aren't going to do anything. So they made the kids go first. So then they told the parents that it wouldn't be painful. But then the kids are suffering because, like cyanide poisoning is painful.
It's horrible.
Right. So they lied to them, and then the kids took it. They gave it to the kids thinking it was going to be a quick, painless thing. And then they were suffering in pain. And the parents were like, oh, shit. And then, obviously being in that situation at that point, you're like, fuck it. All right, we'll do it too. Yeah. But there's audio tapes of all of this.
Wow.
Yeah, I've listened to part of it. It was disturbing.
Yeah, it's really disturbing.
I've never listened to any of it, and I'm happy about that.
It's like a pretty accurate, like, retelling of what, it's not based on it directly, but it's based on it a lot.
Wow.
But it's cool.
Why would anybody? So obviously the two of you listen to it, and I'm assuming other people have quite a lot. But like, why in the hell would anybody want to release that so people could hear it? Like,
well, because
holy
to
shit.
see the true horror
of
what to see. First for like, I guess the legally they have to listen to what happened so they can understand. But like.
Okay, cool.
I think he's
but
asking
the rest
about
of us don't need to
make
hear
it available for the public.
Yeah, like I can understand why a researcher would want to listen to it, why legally we want to listen to it. I understand why those people would need to, but why in the fuck does anybody else need to hear that?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, swear to God, if I'm sitting on the internet and I'm playing at 2 a.m, I don't need to hear that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so having it publicly released, holy crap. Although there's some sick people who probably collect that. Mm-hmm. They probably have it embroidered on a shirt, if you will. I don't have any idea. Wow. And on that note, no, let's keep going. Because I don't want to end on the note of like, Jonestown. Oh, good God. Oh. So what else do you do in your existence?
What a question.
Nothing.
Yo, I'm going to ask some broad fucking questions. Okay.
I watch a lot of movies and do a lot of art and a fair amount of TikToking, and I work. That's about it.
I'm sorry.
That's all I want to do.
A fair amount? Are you trying to downplay how many videos you make?
I do. I do other things more than I TikTok, so it's all relative.
What would be an unfair amount of TikToking?
Yeah, what's an unfair amount? Yeah.
None.
So the amount I do, right? I mostly just repost other people's videos and shit.
Yeah.
He's made a couple. And if you go to our TikTok, you can see some he's made. But like,
I made a Backstreet Boys autism video.
Yeah, he did. But like for myself, like for one, the holiday one was a conversation me and him were having, and so he made one about how do other autistic people not like holidays? And come to find out, there's a lot of us who don't like holidays.
Well, it's more so about the expectation. Like everybody has certain expectations of you because they want you to behave and act a certain way. So it's like, I don't like the pressure to have to socialize and talk to people that I don't necessarily, it's not that I don't give a shit about them, but I don't really want to small talk with people about like, you know, so how's your job going? And all that. I'm like, I don't want to talk.
Straight up, that's a stereotype of autistic folk. Level 1 autistic folk for the most part, that holds to be really, really true.
We don't like talking about stupid shit.
None of us like chit chat.
Sorry, I say stupid shit, but I mean like small talk.
Yeah, none of us really like chit chat. We don't like that shit. No, give us a real fucking question.
Yeah.
How's your balls hanging?
Yeah, if I have to stand there and talk to you, ask me something that fucking matters. Don't ask me about fucking the last movie I watched.
So it's been hot this week.
Yeah, oh, Jesus Christ. not to give too much away because
I ate a really great sandwich
my
yesterday.
job too much. But we had corporate people show up on Friday, and everybody's starting to do the chit chatty thing. And I'm not saying a word. Everybody's sitting at the table, and they're all in chairs, and I'm just sitting in my chair. And somebody's like, "Oh, you're not really talking. Usually, you talk a lot." And I was like, "I will." And my boss tapped me on the arm and goes, "I got it." Because she knows. And so like, and she understands a great deal that chit chat, it's not my strong suit. I will get really deep into something very quickly. So I just keep my tongue, right? Like I just sit there and just like stone face the shit out of it. And so one of the corporate folks was like, "So Nick, what do you do?" "My job." And that's it. That's all I said. And he was like, "Okay, let's start." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God we're going to start now."
All right, today we're going to talk about the invention of marshmallow fluff, the Fluffernutter, what day it was invented, what it's made out of, and where it came from.
Fluff.
We're going to do a deep dive, Nick, on Fluffernutter.
Knock it off with that phrase. You know I hate that. I hate that phrase.
We're going to do a deep dive on Fluffernutter.
God, I hate that.
And we're going to end today's lesson by consuming s'mores.
Oh my God. Every time a fucking NT says deep dive, you mean the 5 seconds it took you to type that shit into Google? That's no, you didn't look up nothing. You have no idea what looking something up
I get
is.
a lot too. No, this is my special interest.
Yeah.
I'm like, like, I'm like, what do you think it is for me? Like, I went into school. I got every degree possible in the subject. Like, what do you think it is for me? It's so funny.
I'm sorry. Every time somebody says deep fucking dive, like there are a bunch of those, what are the euphemistic phrases? A bunch of those fucking things. I hate them so much.
I like, remember that Anakin meme, like from Star Wars? And he's like, "You underestimate my power." And just picture like somebody, "You underestimate my autism."
Yeah.
"You underestimate my autism."
Like shit. Like every time I get interested in any fucking, and I know you guys can relate to this too. Anytime like something sticks in my fucking brain long enough, I have to spend time on it. I have to watch stupid shit about it. I have to look up shit about it. I have to look up the pros and the cons. I have to look up people who agree and people who disagree. Whatever it is, like even if somebody gets me cued in on like a fucking animal's behavior, I gotta look that shit up. Then I gotta find somebody who's like, "Oh, fucking cook that asshole."
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
It is. It is. I looked it up actually. Yes, I fucking did.
Well, it's a meat in between bread, so
you know when I looked it up?
What?
The fucking video you made
about a hot dog?
Yeah.
Is a Pop-Tart a ravioli?
It should be.
It is technically.
Yeah, it is. After the episode we did where I talked about fucking eating hot dogs and you made a little clip of it.
Yeah.
Like that fucking night, I spent fucking 40 minutes looking up fucking sandwiches and looking up hot dogs and fucking like
that edible's kicking in over there.
Yeah, I think I can go till 8:15 and then I'm gonna go probably watch a movie and eat some food.
We can wrap up in a minute. Is there anything that you, I mean, obviously you can plug your TikTok channel, but is there anything that you want people to know?
That correlation doesn't equal causation. That mainly, if I could tell the world one message, it would be that.
It would be that. And also that Jaws is the greatest movie ever.
Yeah, well, presumably you're on. That's common knowledge.
Autism Speaks is the new Nickelback.
Yeah, Autism Speaks is the new Nickelback.
Yeah, that's true. Autism Speaks has good resources for you. You shouldn't shame people for using them.
No, definitely don't shame them. Don't shame people just because they're utilizing the resources.
Like if you don't like them, if you don't like something, then don't use it.
Yeah,
but don't judge other people. Agreed. I mean, it's one thing if they're like, it's like a really problematic, but the Autism Speaks is not problematic like people think they are.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, quite frankly, they've probably done more for awareness of autism and helping people be recognized.
They do a lot of lobbying.
I mean, they're about on par with I Am Sam. I'm just kidding.
Okay, it's an awesome movie, by the way. Like,
I know, I'm
Sean
kidding.
Penn is a great actor.
Oh, Jesus.
I get it. He's not autistic, and he played an autistic person, but great fucking movie.
He did hold Madonna at gunpoint, though, in real life. He loses points for that.
Hey, that was 30 years ago and a whole lot of coke.
He loses points for that.
Yeah, he loses a lot of points for that. But he's a damn good actor. Anyway.
The game.
So later tonight, Nick and I are going to go count cards tonight. And yeah.
Absolutely. So anyway, let's do the wrap up. Lindsay, thank you very much for coming on our podcast.
Thanks
we really appreciate it. And if you'd be interested, we'd love to have you back another time.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. This is fun.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad you had some fun. So thank you very much. And for everybody else who's listening or possibly maybe listening, hopefully somebody's listening. If you like something you heard, please leave a comment. If you dislike something you heard, please leave a comment. If you'd like to tell us all about how we're wrong about Autism Speaks, leave a comment.
Comment your favorite Nickelback song.
Yes. Tell us all about your favorite Nickelback song. Other than that, we'll catch you on another episode of On the Spectrum podcast. I'm Nick.
Oh, I'm Steve. Oh, yeah. By the way, check out our merch.
Oh, yeah. Merchandise. Look, we got shirts. Yeah. And also coffee cups, because I obsessively drink coffee in like every episode. So check our stuff out. Bye.
Look at this photograph.